So much, Steve. I'm so happy to be here today. So, like I mentioned, or like you heard earlier, we're going to actually dive into the practical tips on how you move from just being a fixer to a coach for your direct reports. And so, before we get started, I'd love to take a moment and introduce myself. So I am Anita Hossain Choudhry, and I'm co-founder and CEO at The Grand. We are a group coaching platform and community to really help leaders gain clarity, confidence, and connection. I'm also a mom to two young daughters who are 3 and 1. And before that, I was an executive coach and previously the head of knowledge at First Round Capital. And in those roles in particular, I saw just how important it was to really support your people. It was one of the things that separated the companies that were going to make it and those that weren't. And it's what I talk to my coaching clients about day in and day out. And, Jennifer from the last panel, she just mentioned how people leave managers, not companies. I'm sure you've all heard that phrase before. Feel free to pop in the chat if you have. But the stats are even more compelling. 57% of employees have left because of a manager, and an additional 32% have considered leaving because of their manager. That's close to 90%. That's why it's so important to get this right. And as leaders and entrepreneurs, you have so many skills in your toolbox. And in order to be the best leader possible, you really need to assemble a diverse and varied toolbox and choose the right skill that's going to be the most useful in any given situation. As an executive coach, again, I've worked with hundreds of startup founders and executives, and I've seen firsthand that coaching is actually one of the least utilized tools, yet one of the most effective leadership tools. And so by adding coaching to your toolbox and calling upon it in the right situations, you can really uncover your team's blind spots. You can help your direct reports grow into more capable leaders and ultimately enable your team's best work. So what is a coach? I want you to think Ted Lasso. What did he help people do? Believe, to feel more confident, to believe in their abilities, and to really empower them to find their own answers. And so ultimately, I want you to think about a good coach will make their players see what they can be rather than what they are. And the same is true when you're working with your peers, your direct reports, your partners, your friends. Help them see what they can be and help them realize that potential. And so today we're going to cover a few things. We're going to talk about the default approach to leadership. I'm going to teach you 2 tactical coaching skills that you can use immediately in your workplace. We're going to actually bring it to life with a coaching demo. I'm going to bring someone from the audience on the stage, and then we're going to chat about when to use coaching and when not to. So to start, I want you to think about, imagine a direct report coming into a one-on-one with you, and they immediately launch in a challenge that they're experiencing. And your immediate instinct is to fix the problem or give them advice. And it's not wrong. It's just not always the best opportunity in every situation. So think about why we go into fixing mode. And there are 4 main reasons. And as I read each one, feel free to think to yourself, is that a reason that you've been in the fixing mode in the past? And feel free to put that in the chat as well. So the first one is, I want to be helpful and relieve the other person's pain. The second one, I know the answer, I'm the expert. I want to check this off my to-do list. And then lastly, if I can't fix it, they'll know I'm faking it. So you might have recognized a mix of these reasons that caused you to get into fixing mode. And, we've all been there before. And when you are in fixing mode, I want to tell you a little bit more about what that looks like. And so it's really, you're focused on a single actionable solution. The conversation style is really directive and advice-oriented. And then you'll notice that you yourself will be doing most of the talking in that situation. So feel free to pop in the chat, if you've been in situation 1, 2, 3, or 4, and then I'm going to share a personal story of mine. So I was managing several people who had just graduated from college, and I was in this mindset of wanting to be really helpful. And so, I wanted to be empathetic, and so I put myself in their shoes. And I reflected on my first job after college, and I had this manager who was so unclear. She didn't give me the right level of support to be successful. And I really vowed to do the opposite. I wanted to be as helpful as possible. And so in my head, I had this notion that I had to fix my direct report's problems. So one day, my direct report comes to me in our one-on-one, and she felt overwhelmed with everything that was on her plate and really couldn't figure out how to prioritize. And so I immediately jumped into fix it mode. I told her, take out a sheet of paper, draw a triangle on it, and break it up into thirds. And in the bottom section, I wrote down 3 to 5 things she had to complete for the week. In the middle section, I wrote down 3 things she had to complete in the next 3 days. And then the top of the triangle, I wrote down 1 thing she needed to focus on before the end of the day. And I did this for her every day and for several weeks. And I thought by doing so, I was solving her problem. But over time, I really saw her creativity wane. She would spend long hours trying to do her best to get those critical tasks done. And around the same time, I took my first coaching course and I had this aha moment. I realized that I wasn't actually helping her by fixing her problem. I was actually hurting her because I didn't empower her to trust herself. And I was using my own compass to dictate what needed to be done. And in that moment, I shifted my default approach from fixing to coaching. So instead of being the hero that saved the day, I asked myself, how could I enable my direct reports to do their best work and be their best selves? And so in our next one-on-one, I asked her to take the lead in filling out that triangle. And to aid in that process, I asked her open and honest questions about the type of work she was drawn to or where she saw opportunities for the firm to grow. And really, by taking this coaching stance, I helped my direct report trust her intuition. And over time, it helped her come up with some of the most creative ideas deployed at the firm. And she returned to that vibrant, innovative person that I hired in the first place. So this is one example of when we use coaching, 2 things happen. We help our direct reports by investing in their inner teacher. So that means we're not just solving a one-time problem, you're helping your direct report see patterns and behaviors so that going forward, they can develop their own resources and best practices to navigate their challenges. And then we also empower them to trust themselves. You'll see your team members shift their ability to move more confidently and clearly in articulating next steps that they can take to really solve their problem and achieve their goal. So, first off, I want to tell you that fixing is not always the wrong approach. And it's just ineffective in certain situations. So, in a lot of situations, a more effective approach is coaching because it leaves your teams feeling more empowered, understood, and valued. And so, I want to take a moment and define coaching for us. Coaching is getting someone from where they are to where they want to go by tapping into their own wisdom and keeping them accountable to their goals. You think about the etymology of the word, it comes from stagecoach, really taking you from point A to B. And so coaching really is one of the most effective ways for people to develop their skills, build their confidence, and truly feel a sense of belonging. And there are a lot of coaching skills out there. I know we talked about this earlier today throughout the panel. And today I'm going to teach you 2 tactical skills that you can use at your companies immediately. So the first one is called outcome shift. So what it does is it really helps get the other person to define what they want. As a result, you can clarify what they're solving for. Oftentimes, a person is so stuck in the problem that they're facing, they haven't even tried to imagine the solution. And so, without knowing what they want, they can't actually move towards it. And so the outcome shift is a set of simple questions that really orients one's thinking so that they can maximize the possibility of getting what they want. So how do you do it? It's very simple. You start with, in this situation, what would you like? And then you repeat back what the other person said. And then you ask, what will having that do for you? And then you repeat it and ask, what will having that do for you? And so you go through this process over and over until you get the core of what someone wants. The next is options exploration. So what this does is it really moves someone from the problem that they're spinning on and helps them brainstorm actions they could take to pursue what they want. And so as a result, you shift again from spinning on the problem to thinking proactively about next steps, going from reactive to proactive. And so how do you do that? Another simple set of questions. So what options do you have to make progress toward that outcome? What other options do you have? What do you want to try first? These two tactics really help in getting to the core of what someone wants. And as humans, we're really bad at naming our needs at the onset. And so asking these questions really helps clarify what we want. And it's really important to use the exact language here. So, for example, in the outcome shift, what will having that do for you? It presupposes that we will get to where we want to go. And so I want us to bring this to life a bit more, and I thought it'd be fun to bring someone from the audience to go through Outcome Shift today. And so we're going to do a little demo with Ben Jordan. If you want to join the stage with me, we'll dive right in.
Did it all work? Am I unmuted and on?
You're on. I see you. So I think that means everyone else will see you. Hi, Ben.
Hooray. Hello, how are
Thank
you today?
I'm good. Thank you for joining.
Yeah.
I thought that, yeah, it'd be really fun to do something interactive and take some of these skills and bring it to life through a coaching conversation. So Ben, and for the audience, we're doing this completely live, so I have no idea what Ben's going to say. But Ben, to get us started, I would love to have you share the most difficult professional challenge on your plate right now. What
Um,
challenge, if you can magically solve it, would help you feel better, more in control, and on a stronger path? And then I'll give you a second prompt so you can think about both. If you can add a metaphor to it that describes your challenge, what would it be? Things like, it's like we're on a battlefield, or it's like we're speaking different languages. So I'll give you a moment to share that. And you can even name what your role is at your company if you'd like.
yeah, so I'm chief product officer at a GovTech company in San Francisco, run product engineering and design, kind of that EPD. Um, work directly for the co-founder on getting, product to be product. It's an interesting, the metaphor one is really interesting. Um, but I think something that's very recent and causing me stress in a way where I like you said, want to shift, want to fix, because I have a really good relationship with the CEO, but I think sometimes we run things a little bit differently. So the professional challenge I'm having right now is, as we're growing our team and bringing them on board and kind of setting that coaching and one-on-one and really prioritization, I'm noticing lately that he'll have one-on-ones with my direct reports that changes their prioritization and direction and creates confusion on what we're doing and what we're measuring. And
Mm.
so for me, the metaphor that immediately came to mind, because I'm a lover of food and cooking, is like we both want the same meal, but we're like cooking from different recipes. Like every time we go back to it, it feels like we both feel like you could get into the bean discussion around chili. You could get into all those different things. We both want the same dish, but it feels like we're cooking it in different ways, and we keep getting in each other's way there. And so I think we
Mm.
both want the same outcome, but
Yeah.
we kind of are stepping on each other's toes here. So would love to know how
Mm.
you'd coach me through this very real, very right now problem.
First of all, thank you for sharing so openly and vulnerably. And I love that metaphor. It really, yeah, it brings it to life. So, Ben, in this situation, what would you like?
Um, I would like to not have my directs confused about what success looks like for them and what they're supposed to kind of be focused on a daily basis. That lack of confusion. I think for me personally, I want the time back from having to unwind some of these things that happen, you know.
So, okay, we're going to start with that first part. You would like your direct reports not to be confused so that they can be successful. What will having that do for you?
I think having that means we'll move faster and with more clarity and lower the stress level of, are we going to hit this next thing? Are we going to, are we going to get to where we're planning to go? I think is really what that'll get. Just, more clarity on outcome.
Okay, and moving faster and gaining more clarity on the outcome, what will having that do for you?
I think that will ultimately reduce the stress that I'm feeling when I'm reporting out on how we're progressing towards, like, we're launching a new product, right? So every day feels critical to that launch. And sometimes I lose that confidence. So I think if I know we're all on the same path, we're going the right directions, priorities are the same, we're less confused, I think I'll have more confidence in how I report out and where we are in the process, and are we going to hit that date? Are we going to hit that next milestone?
Got it. So once you're able to, get to that milestone and all be moving in the same direction, what will having that do for you?
I'll sleep better. And I think in general, I think stress levels will drop, which I would assume, my hope is, right, the quality of work goes up and the days feel better, right? If
Mm-hmm.
that's fair, the, like, less friction points where, we're rowing with tide, not against.
Mm, got it. So now I'm going to shift to the options exploration. So you painted this beautiful picture of, all the quality of work improving and just like rowing with time in the same direction. What options do you have to make progress toward that outcome?
Like, specifically things that I think I could do to get us there. Um, I don't know. I think part of where I'm thinking through is, the first thing is have a direct conversation around what needs to change. And I think for me, maybe illuminating some of the results of those conversations. For me, the desire is not to say anyone's doing anything wrong. It's always the intent is completely good and right, but the outcome is not. So I think what I've been thinking is I want to share the actual kind of outcomes of the things that are happening so we can better understand what's happening. I think, but that's the form. I don't know what to do there, but it feels like if I can provide more visibility into the results, then maybe we can all come to the same conclusion together without it turning into pointing of fingers or questioning of intent, you know?
Yeah. No, definitely. I'm gonna just interest of time, I'm gonna pause right
Yeah.
there and I'm gonna summarize. You started with this really beautiful metaphor that we want to make the same dish, but we're using different recipes. And then you ended with the intent is the same, like the intent is good and the outcomes are the same that we're driving towards. It's really about having that direct conversation of what needs to change. So I'm gonna just give you the floor just for like 30 more seconds. What did it feel like being coached and going through those two tactics? And I know we did a quick version of it, but what did it feel for you on the receiving
Well,
end?
it's funny because I heard you ask me the questions that you said you were going to ask me. But even in asking those questions, I think it took me out of my tactical, like, fix the problem, and allowed me to think more directionally and strategically about it. The metaphor is really interesting because now what I'm thinking is we just need to choose which recipe we're going to go work from. And that way we're cooking, right? And, like, I think I'm even going to use that metaphor when I have the conversation, but I think it allowed me to kind of, like, step outside of the situation and look at how I am in that, especially by understanding the outcome of what I want. I think if it had been a petty outcome, I may have been like, well, maybe this is a me problem, not to,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think it gave me visibility I don't think I would have had otherwise.
I love that. And in particular, the point about allowing you to step outside of the situation. And that's the thing when we're in, high stress, fast moving, companies, we don't zoom out. Like when's the last time someone asked you, what would you like? Like probably never. And so as a manager, it's so important to give that opportunity to your direct report because really like the answers are within you, Ben. They're within all of us. It's just we haven't had the time, space, and perspective to really allow yourself to step out of the situation, think more broadly about what you want, and then how do you get there. And so thank you for being game and modeling that for the group. And good luck with your situation and keep us posted on how it goes.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you. So just to reiterate what you saw just now, is, really appreciated Ben's openness and vulnerability and, really just the difference between fixing and coaching. So imagine if he came in and instead of asking the questions, I just immediately told him what to do. That's the fixing stance. It's I'm the expert. I need to solve this problem, get it off my to-do list so I can show that I'm helpful. And the conversation style would have been different. It would have been really directive, advice oriented. I would do most of the talking, like, oh, Ben, I remember when I was in a situation, this is what worked for me. And the problem with that is we don't always have the context or the experience really to draw out exactly what that person needs. And so when you shift your perspective and use a coaching mindset, you're reframing your belief that actually they have wisdom and insight that they need to solve this challenge. And I can help draw that out of them. And you're also exploring what's possible in the future. The conversation style is directed by more curiosity and open questions, like I asked. And you notice that they do most of the talking while I listen, reflect back what I heard, and ask questions. And so, this hopefully gives you something that you can use at your companies. And, what I'll say is, there are different situations when fixing is appropriate versus coaching. Like when it's an urgent, high stakes problem, you need to give feedback. The person you're training is less experienced and they want direct instruction, or it's an underperformer who's struggling to perform. I want you to think about what is one situation this week where you want to try coaching and put a when and where to it because you're more likely to complete it. And I want you to also just connect with us. If you liked this session and like the tactics that we shared, we'd love to talk to you. And so please use this QR code to book some time with our team. We really believe in giving people a safe space and a personal board of advisors so that they can gain clarity, confidence, and connection as they're moving through work and life. And our hope is really just to help people feel less alone on their journeys and become the grandest version of themselves. So we want to talk to you, talk to your companies, and figure out how we can create more of a coaching culture within. So thank you so much for the time today.
Anita, that was terrific. I've seen lots of demos, but often they're about technology. This one was was so human in the sense that we were like a fly on the wall, being able to see inside a session, and it was terrific. It really became clear through what you were doing that you were not telling him how to fix things. You were drawing things out, and sometimes in that kind of a conversation, there's pauses or even awkward pauses where the person you're coaching has to stop and think about it, right? And they're doing an inner exploration.
Yeah. No, I love that you name that because it will feel awkward because this is a muscle we have to build. And when they're staring blankly at you, you know it's working because they're thinking in a way that they haven't in a long time. So thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I have one more question. We have a minute left, and that is, have you seen the development of coaching skills create change within an organization? Like, okay, we can see this visibly or
Yeah.
measurably.
Absolutely. So we look at a few different measures with the people who've joined the grant, things like, their coaching skills, communication skills, ability to delegate, conflict resolution. And so we track the shift from before they started with the grant and after. And I would say, like, more than that, to bring that to life, it's really about the emotional intelligence across the company. We've noticed that when we've worked within an organization, people will remark, like, Steve, oh, you went through the grant, right? Because we've given even people a shared language and a leadership philosophy where they can be empathetic and they focus on empathetic listening and asking open and honest questions and moving away from, this fixing mindset into this coaching mindset.
Mhm.
And that permeates the organization and helps everyone work more collaboratively and creatively together. So that's the impact
Wow.
that
So
we
it's
really.
a palpable difference in people's styles of solving problems and managing. Wow. Well, thanks for being here. That was really insightful, and we appreciate it and hope to see you again. Thanks,
Yeah,
Anita.
just really appreciate it. Take care.